From a red bud of my favorite rose bush to the smile on my grandmother's face, to the dew on a single blade of grass I keep seeing in the smallest ways. From the hoots of an old horned owl to the laughter of children at play, to the first whistle passing from my son's lips, I keep seeing in the smallest ways. When I pay such close attention, there's no judgment in my life. There's only love in the smallest of ways. From the birth of my baby to the song that I've sung full of grace, to the loss of a mentor not meant to be mine, I keep feeling in the smallest ways. From a breath of a night blooming jasmine to the scent permeating my days, I can call to mind what I can't find. I keep breathing in the smallest ways. When I pay such close attention, there's no judgment in my life. There's only love in the smallest of ways. In the smallest of ways. In the smallest of ways. Oh, from the light of your sweetest kisses to the tear that I stole from your face, yeah. Gelato we shared on the boulevard, I keep falling in the smallest ways. I give into sweet surrender, and I know that God is in this place. There's only love in the smallest of ways. In the smallest of ways. In the smallest of ways. In the smallest of ways.
Please join me in prayer. There's only one life, one perfect life. That life is God. That life belongs to each and every one of us in this space. We're so grateful to be part of that power that becomes what it loves and expresses as each and every one of us. And we are here again to celebrate higher, deeper love, and we're so grateful for that opportunity today. I know that everything that takes place here today will be absolutely perfect in every way, and that all of us will be inspired to a higher, deeper love after we hear young Dr. David's message today. As we continue our quest to make a world that works for everyone. We do this together. We do this as a community, as divine expressions of that one perfect life that is God. I give thanks for everyone who's come together to make this service possible, and for all who've come to share their love and light in celebration of our oneness here today. I give thanks for all of those who are not here, who will hear this message later, and for each and every unique and wonderful expression of the divine, wherever they may be in this universe. And release these words in the divine law where they're already done at the intersection of right here and right now. I let this go, I let it be. Together we affirm, and so it is. Well, I thought Ernest could use a little help from Joel Goldsmith, so he's going to be our opening act, and of course, Ernest is going to close it out as he always does. Yeah. So Joel Goldsmith says the immortal can be reached only by continuous acts of kindness, and perfection is accomplished by compassion and charity. The greater the degree of unselfed love that we attain, the nearer we come to the realization of the universal I as our real being. And from the Honorable Dr. Ernest Holmes, our founder, you cannot love and hate at the same time, nor can anyone else. And our second quote from him, when you can see in the saint and the sinner one and the same person, when you can realize that the one who kneels before the altar and the one who lies drunk in the street is the same one, when you can love one as much as you do the other, no doubt you will be able to qualify.
Well, good afternoon, New Dawn. Welcome to those of you who are here, to those who are joining us online. Oh my gosh, what a glorious day in Colorado. I had the great joy of officiating one of my first weddings of the season yesterday in this great eclectic facility up north a little bit, just before Longmont in Firestone, Colorado. And as I shared with the friends and family of the beautiful couple, you know, it just reminds me of the country western song, "If God doesn't live in Colorado, I bet that's where he spends most of his time." So we are so lucky, we are so blessed. And yes, as Russell said, as Ken beautifully supported, we are continuing our conversation about a higher, deeper love. And our theme today is, I was made for loving you. So this week I had the unique experience of attending to memorials. Usually you hear me talk about officiating memorials, and that continues to be a high honor for me. And this week I was able to attend to memorials. And it was the juxtaposition between the two events was really pretty extraordinary. The first event, the patriarch died unexpectedly, and the family learned only after an autopsy. Since he died alone, it was required by law to have an autopsy. And the family learned through the autopsy results that there was meth in their father's system. And they got to continue to love him. And they get to work through, you know, anything that we all deal with in losing a parent or losing someone so close. They get to continue to love, not just when it's easy, but when it's challenging. I also went to a memorial for the beloved mother of a high school friend. Lori and I have known each other from junior high school, and we were in the same class. And she started really early, and I started really late. So I'm very fond of reminding everyone that she is significantly older than I. And her dear mom passed. And it was a loving tribute, a beautiful Catholic service. It was not a mass, as the deacon reminded us. And I was sitting next to another friend of ours from high school. And we got up and we got down and we got up and we got down. And I said, oh my gosh, you know, the good news is I didn't make it to the gym today. And I love participating in Catholic ritual. And she was so loved by her children, by her grandchildren, by her great-grandchildren. And they got to be in that place of love when it was just a little bit easier, right? So I just want you to know, wherever you are on that journey, if you're in a place of joy and celebration on this Flag Day and as we prepare for Father's Day next week, or if you find yourself in that place of challenge, or if you find your place somewhere in between. Thank you for being here. That is one of the things that this community does so well, and I'm so proud and so honored to be a part of. You get to be who you are. You get to show up, and thank you for allowing us to love you and support you where you are on your journey. And yes, we did not coordinate, best to my understanding, with our friends here at Mountain View, but they provided all of the flags on the tables, and we provided all of the flags inside. And I have no comment on Mickey's wig. And life is good, right? I love it. So yes, today is indeed Flag Day in the United States. Most of us know the flag. We've seen it flying in front of schools, of course, and government buildings, and some private homes, and sporting events, and parades, and approaching our midterm elections. We'll see lots of candidates all over the political spectrum, literally and metaphorically, wrapping themselves in the flag. But what you may not be aware is that Flag Day dates back to June 14th, 1777, when the Continental Congress adopted the first official American flag. Now, of course, since then, the design has changed. The purpose has remained remarkably consistent. The flag was never intended to merely be a piece of fabric or paper. It was intended to represent ideals. It was intended to represent possibilities. It was intended to provide a vision of who we aspire to be and become as a collective, as a community. Now, whether you agree with every chapter of our national story or not, the truth is that every nation, every community, every family, every spiritual center lives into the symbols it chooses to honor. A flag points toward an ideal. A mission statement points toward an ideal. A spiritual teaching points toward an ideal. And every day our actions answer an important question. Are we living what we claim to value? That's true nationally. That's true spiritually. And that's true personally. So today, yes, we continue our Higher, Deeper Love series with this specific question. How actively are you showing up as love in the world? Because love is not merely something we feel. Love is something we are. Love is something we express. Love is something we embody. And love is something we do. And perhaps the greatest flag we will ever raise is the one we raise through our consciousness and our actions. So after I share, please respond. I shine and share as love. I shine and share as love. Love is meant to be expressed. Love changes the world through action. Love moves through me today and every day. The Science of Mind perspective reminds us that when we recognize the spirit within ourselves as the same spirit present in others, we are loving our neighbor as ourselves. Sounds simple enough until we meet our neighbors. Then things get interesting, and then they may go off the tracks. And sometimes our neighbors are delightful. And sometimes they own 4 dachshunds and a pit bull. And sometimes they post things on social media. Yet the invitation remains the same, to recognize the divine presence in ourselves and in others. Not because everyone agrees with us, how boring would that be? But because everyone belongs to the one life. So my first thought, friends, that I want to invite you into is the love we know within shapes the world we experience. Once again, I reinforce and reiterate, as metaphysicians, we believe that everything is created twice, once internally and then once externally. So everything begins within, including love. The quality of our inner life inevitably shapes the quality of our outer experience. When I'm in a great mood, guess what? It's going to be a great day. When I'm in an iffy mood, on that rare occasion, as my beloved husband would tell you, my day is less great. Yeah? The way I show up mirrors itself in my reality. When we cultivate compassion within ourselves, compassion flows outwardly. When we cultivate gratitude, we begin noticing blessings we previously overlooked. When we cultivate understanding, we become less reactive and more responsive. And we know the opposite is also true. When we live from fear, fear colors our interactions. If we live from judgment, judgment follows us wherever we go. The world often reflects back the consciousness we bring to it. I also have the joy of working with a beautiful young couple that I'm going to be marrying next month. They wanted to do some premarital counseling work. And in their first session, we had a great conversation. We were moving toward the end of our time together. And I said, "What is the most exciting thing you're looking forward to about being married?" And the first partner answered, and the second partner answered. And their answers were similar but different. And they both bridged to what they're afraid of and what they don't want. I specifically said, what are you looking forward to, right? Want to end on a high note, want to be positive, and they moved into a place of fear. So that was a great opportunity for me to share this same message with them about how we show up is mirrored back to us by the universe. And so we also know, friends, that doesn't mean that difficult things won't happen. It means we get to choose the spirit in which we meet them. You've heard me say it before. Everything is just energy and information until I choose to label it good or bad or something else. So perhaps the greatest contribution we can make to the world may be the consciousness we bring to it. I'm reminded of the story of Saint Mother Teresa. When she was relatively new to the order, she was still a teenager. She was working on literally the dusty dirt roads of downtown Calcutta. She was sitting on the side in the dirt of one of those roads, having a moment, which honestly, I'm not sure that I can wrap my whole head around what that might look like and feel like. But she writes about being in that space. And then one of her colleagues, one of the other sisters of the poor, comes to her with a message from the mother house, from the convent, that the sisters who are in charge, the management of the convent, would like to speak with her. And so, of course, she goes back for this meeting. And the offshoot was they saw something in her at that young age, right? She wasn't even 20 years old. They wanted her to come back to the convent, to leave the streets, to leave her day-to-day work, and move into a management position at the convent. And so, obviously they had talked about it, they had prayed about it, they were reaching out to her, and it truly was her decision to make. So she did the same thing. She took it into prayer, she took it into meditation, she spoke of tears being involved. And after some time, she respectfully declined the invitation because her work was the hard work of being on the streets. While moving back to the convent certainly would have provided her with a modest room and 3 meals a day, her work wasn't about comfort. Her work was about being who she was and allowing that to come through. So that is how she was able to turn her inner love, her inner work, into an outer mitzvah, if you will, an outer challenge that touched millions of people around the world, not only within her specific religious order, but through all the lives that she touched and made better. The other thing that we understand about love is that sometimes it's messy. One of the misconceptions about love is that it should always feel comfortable. We know real love is messy. Real love requires difficult conversations. Real love sometimes asks us to forgive. Real love asks us to tell the truth. And real love asks us to grow. Real love asks us to stay present when it would be easier to walk away. Parents understand this. Grandparents understand this. Great-grandparents understand this. Partners understand this. Friends understand this. Communities understand this. Love isn't proven when everything is easy. Love reveals itself when things become complicated. The willingness to remain open-hearted during life's messy moments may be one of the highest spiritual practices we have. I'm reminded of the story of a family not unlike mine, 3 biological boys, and they did what families do. They loved, they had challenges, they had good economic times, they had challenging economic times. And moving toward the end of life then, Dad is 91, Mom was 88 when she chose to leave the planet in a violent way at 88. And so now that family gets to be with that, yeah? Grief does interesting things to people. Estates and finances and money do interesting things to people. And so that is when we get to continue to be in that place of love, when love is messy. The third piece I want to remind you of and invite you into is that love is a verb. M. Scott Peck famously wrote that love is an act of will. Love is not merely a feeling, love is a choice. Feelings come and go. Choices build lives. Every day we decide whether love will move through us. Will we listen? Will we encourage? Will we forgive? Will we seek the humanity in all with whom we come into contact? Will we offer kindness when kindness is unexpected? Love becomes real through action. That is something else that this community understands so well. It becomes visible through behavior. It becomes transformative through practice. The world rarely changes because somebody felt loving. The world changes because someone acted lovingly. So we have these dear friends. They've been kind enough to join us here on a number of occasions, most recently a few weeks ago with Lloyd Barrett's visit. Barbara and Paul have been together going on 45 years, and they made the interesting choice to get married on February 29th. So technically, they just celebrated their 10th anniversary, and, they've been together well over 40 years. And they are 2 of the most loving and glorious people that I've had the pleasure of loving and getting to know on this planet. So what does that look like here? Many of you, of course, have been here much longer than I, and I welcome your thoughts and ideas on this part of the conversation. My experience is, at New Dawn, we strive to embody this teaching in practical ways. First, we encourage spiritual growth that begins within, knowing that transformed individuals help transform communities. Second, we create opportunities for meaningful connection, for service, and for authentic relationships. So however you choose to engage with us, if the Sunday service calls to you, if you're here because Ken is an extraordinary musician and Karen joins us when Ken is not here, that is a point of entry that we are honored to provide. If you like some of the words, great. If you are interested in our children's program, that's awesome. If you feel called to hang out with Mickey and participate in some of our community outreach work, wigs optional, that is completely up to you, and that's an awesome way and place to be. And thirdly, we actively seek ways to express love beyond these walls through compassion, generosity, inclusion, and community engagement. Our goal is not simply to talk about love. Our goal is to become expressions of love. So on this Flag Day, perhaps we can ask ourselves a different question. What flag are we flying in our lives? What values do our actions represent? What ideals are visible by the choices we make every day? When people encounter us, do they experience kindness, compassion, understanding, presence, love? Because the most important symbol we'll ever carry isn't made of cloth. It's made of consciousness. It's made of character. It's made of how we show up in the world. So my invitation today is simple, my friends. Raise the flag of love. Not just in belief, not just in theory, not just in intention. Raise it in action. Raise it in conversation. Raise it in service. Raise it in how you treat yourself and others, because you were made for love. Please join me in prayer. There is one infinite life expressing itself through all creation. One presence, one spirit, one love. That love lives within every person gathered here and within the sound of my voice. It shines through every act of kindness. It moves through every expression of compassion. It reveals itself through every choice that honors our shared humanity. Today, I know that each of us becomes a clearer channel for love. I know that our hearts are open, our minds are receptive, our spirits are willing. I know that New Dawn continues to be a beacon of inclusion, acceptance, service, and spiritual growth. I know that the love we cultivate within ourselves naturally flows outward into our families, our communities, and our world. With gratitude for this deeper love, I release this prayer, knowing it is already done. And together we say, and so it is, and so I am, and so we are.
Gonna take this life wide awake. Open my eyes and my heart to a world in brilliant new ways. Watch all the colors combine and explode. Let them fill in the cracks of the unfinished parts of my soul. Here I go. I release all my secrets and all my pain. Hold to the truth, made of a bond stronger than my chains. Free my spirit, let go of my pride, and put words to the ways that I love you for your sake and mine. Ooh, all this love I found lifted me up, I see higher ground. No view as sweet or profound as the me I see in all this love I have found. I stand on goodness like a rock. Hold out my hand to my brothers and sisters and help them stand up. Thank you, struggle. You know you made me strong. With every beat I am sure I am clear. I know I belong. All this love I found has lifted me up. Now I see from high ground. No view as sweet or profound as the me I see in all this love I have found. All this love I found has lifted me up. Now I see from high ground. No view as sweet or profound as the me I see in all this love I have found. The me I see in all this love I have found.